let me ask this question just to break the ice a little bit. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Breaking the ice. If you could instantly master any skill, no lessons, no practice, what would it be and why? Getting to know you, getting to know all about.
I guess it would be learning to fly so I can travel at my own freedom.
Oh my gosh, Carol, you always come with some great answers. That's a great one.
Be wherever you want to be. I like that.
If you could instantly master any skill, no lessons, no practice, what would it be and why?
Still thinking.
I'd love to master AI because we are on the pulse of AI and technology taking off. So if I could master it, I could start my additional business with AI and be on the cusp of the new technology that's going to be taking over now in the next 5 years.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sister.
Hi, Sister. What's your name, Sister?
I'm Chanel.
Hi, Chanel.
Hi, nice to meet you, Karen. I guess mine, it's very practical, is to be super organized at work. Organize with paperwork. That's not my strength, but that would be it. Very practical.
Just at work or work at home?
Work.
Okay, just
yes,
work.
yes. I work with people and I enjoy the interaction, but I do not enjoy the paperwork. And of course, there's a lot of paperwork that goes with anything we do nowadays. So
if I may ask, what do you do?
I'm a social worker. I'm a clinical social worker.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Anyone else? We'll wait 2 more minutes for folks who are coming in. But while you're coming in, the question is, if you could instantly master any skill or lessons, no lessons, no practice, what would it be and why?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marjorie. Let me
Hi,
see.
Marjorie.
Turn my camera on, but I just finished some steps, so please don't mind me. But so like Chanel, right, being a little more practical, but I wish that I could just cook more healthier foods, just like that, without researching it, without trying to find out like what is bloating me, what isn't bloating me, what is going on with this, how do I get fuller faster, just knowing how to do it and just making it, and just that's it. So that would be my one wish, one thing that I wish I could do right now, for sure.
Great answers we're having here. A minute to go. Anyone else want to take that on?
I think I'll jump in. This is Kenechia. For me, I would really, really love if I was able to master deep ocean diving. I have a great love for the waters, and I think there's so much fascination beneath the sea, the ocean itself. So just being able to because the ocean is really dark. So the beautiful beaches that we're used to and everything, that's all good and dandy. But when you really talk about the ocean, right? What's beneath the ocean? I would really love to be able to master that. Maybe that could be a goal, at least to start, right?
That's a good one.
You're coming, Karen?
I don't know about that.
That is a good one. Considering I can't swim, that's a really good one.
Right? Listen, Kenechia, there are people that actually enjoy diving that aren't really good swimmers either,
Really?
It's crazy. Yeah.
That was on my bucket list for, was it 2019, right before COVID, I was taking swim lessons. That was my goal. I had that all planned out. And then COVID happened and swim lessons stopped and I just never went back. So maybe Keneshia's idea may trigger me to get back into swimming.
Yeah, I'd have to go. I tried the diving thing and I panicked. they had to take me out of the water. Oh my gosh. It was nerve-wracking. Okay, it's 7:06. We are going to begin. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is WISE Conversation. And for those who do not know, WISE, Women Inspiring, Supporting, Empowering Network. What we do things like this. We have conversations every month about topics that affect you and me in our everyday lives, including our topic today. We also try to give back to our community as much as we can. We try to inspire others. We try to motivate ourselves and others. And we have a leadership series that we did last week. We have two awesome teachers who ran that leadership series. And maybe at the end, we'll try to get some feedback or just some more information on our leadership series. But we want to welcome you this evening to what is going to be a very informative presentation, I am sure. And I am going to allow Kenechia Daley to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself and her topic here today, gone tomorrow. I'm sure many of us, like myself, is or knows someone who's having these same issues. So Kenechia, I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. I am going to apologize in advance. I have a bit of a sniffle, so you'll see me occasionally like dab my nose. So thank you everyone for joining. I am Kenechia Daley. Thank you for spending time with me to hear about my scar and alopecia journey. I just want to give a disclaimer that this is just from my personal experience. This is not from a medical perspective. I am not in the medical field. So this is just my journey with scar and alopecia. And if you don't know, September is Alopecia Awareness Month. So I thought it was fitting to provide this presentation in the month of September as we're celebrating Alopecia Awareness Month. So with that, let's go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So a little bit about me. I am originally from Jamaica. I currently live in Hamden, Connecticut with my family, with my husband, and I have two daughters and a bonus son. My older daughter, Gabby, is actually on the call this evening. She's a first-year student at Temple University. She's on the train heading home for the weekend, the first weekend since she's left home, so we're excited for that. And my second daughter, Kylie, and my bonus son are both first-year students at Hamden High School. I currently work at Yale University, the School of Public Health. I've been there for 2 years, and I serve in the capacity of Director of Research Administration for post-award, which means my group manages all the grants and contracts that the School of Public Health receives for research and teaching, etc. Although I've been at the School of Public Health for 2 years, I have been at Yale for, I think I just celebrated my 26th year at Yale University. What are my hobbies? I enjoy traveling. I enjoy listening to live music, spending time with friends and family, and at some point, maybe I'll add swimming to this list. That's now a goal of mine. So I have an agenda to guide the conversation this evening, but I do hope that it is a conversation, and I do hope that you'll ask questions as we go through. I will start by doing a brief definition of scar and alopecia. We'll talk through what are the symptoms and the causes of scar and alopecia. I will share with you the timeline and process for myself. What has been the timeline from discovery through diagnosis? I will discuss some of the challenges that I face dealing with scar and alopecia. I'll share with you what has been my treatment plan and the side effects that I've experienced from those treatment plans. And then I'll launch into my current status, where I am today, and how I'm living with and dealing with scar and alopecia. And we'll have a quick conclusion and have a session for Q&A. Again, I hope this is a dialogue, so if you have questions, please feel free to ask them as we're going through the process. There's no need to hold them until the end. So scar and alopecia is essentially a permanent type of hair loss where the hair follicles are destroyed by inflammation and is replaced by scar tissue. The scar tissue prevents the hair from regrowing, and thus it's called scarring alopecia, okay? CCCA is a progressive and permanent form of scarring alopecia, and with CCCA, it starts at the crown of your head. There's a patch of hair loss at the crown, and then ultimately it spreads out to other areas of your hair. As you can see in the photo on the right, that is actually a picture of my scalp at the onset of scarring alopecia. And you can see there's that circle of hair loss, and that's where my scarring alopecia started, and then it progresses outward. CCCA is prevalent in African American women. I must share that there are many types of scarring of hair loss. There are many types of scarring alopecia. The one that I have been diagnosed with is CCCA. Okay. Okay. So what are the symptoms of scarring alopecia? The symptoms may vary, but the typical symptoms are itchy scalp. Most people experience having really consistent itchy scalp. There's that burning sensation of the scalp tenderness and or scalp redness, flaky scalp, and of course, hair loss, which unfortunately, hair loss is typically the first noticeable sign of CCCA. And at that point, it means there's so much more damage that happened internally. It's now manifesting itself on the outside. This photo on the, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if I missed it. What does CCCA stands for?
So it's central, if it's, I have it in the title, it's central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, CCCA.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a mouthful, so most people just say CCCA versus bringing out the full term. But I wanted to highlight that while I have CCCA, there are other types of scarring alopecia. I have and have been diagnosed with CCCA. Okay. And so on this photo, again, I'm sharing pictures of my scalp and throughout the time that I've been dealing with CCCA. And if you look closely, I don't have a pointer. You can see there are some red areas on my scalp. You'll see in different areas, there almost looks like red bumps around the scalp. And so that was a sign of CCCA. Okay. So what are the causes of CCCA? Well, unfortunately, and not surprising, the exact cause of CCCA is unknown, but it is linked to chronic inflammation. And what happens with that is the body attacks the hair follicles, okay? And so while the specific cause is unknown, it is attributed to medical condition. I know lupus is one medical condition where individuals who have lupus will end up or may be diagnosed with CCCA. And so that's just one of the medical conditions. Genetics can also be linked to CCCA. Hairstyling practices, consistent and frequent wearing of braids, tight hairstyle, consistent wearing of ponytails. As you can imagine, the hair is pulled to the center, causing trauma to the scalp, and inflammation develops, and it creates the onset of CCCA. Excessive heat from hot tools can also be a cause of CCCA. Using chemicals such as relaxers and hair dye can also cause CCCA. In my case, we're not sure why or what caused my CCCA. We know for sure that I don't have a medical condition. I've done all the tests. So there's no medical condition that can be linked to my scarring alopecia. There's no genetic condition that we've determined that is linked to my scarring alopecia. It's not hairstyle practices because I've never worn braids, didn't wear a tight hairstyle. There's no consistent wearing of ponytails. So we're able to rule those things out. Because I had a relaxer for 25, 26 years leading up to my diagnosis, there is a potential that the heat from blow drying and flat ironing my hair over the years contributed to my getting scarring alopecia, but that is just a theory. Similarly, I've relaxed my hair since I was 12 years old. So perhaps that contributed to me developing scarring alopecia. Again, these are just assumptions. These are not defined by a medical professional. We're just able to rule out the other things. Okay. So my timeline and process, what has been the time span from discovery to my diagnosis of scarring alopecia? So in 2014 to 2015, I started having really itchy scalp and what I call a hothead, but it only happens during wash time. And what I mean is when my hair is wet, not if from a rainfall, but when I'm washing my hair, my scalp becomes really itchy during that process. And my scalp becomes really hot. And I remember at one of my visit with my hairstylist, she took my hand and had me place the back of my hand on my scalp, and you could feel the heat that is coming out of my scalp. And so what we did then was we changed our hair products. Again, there was no signs of hair loss. I just had the itchy scalp and the hothead. I mean, and that's my term, hothead, that happened during wash time. And so we changed up the products that we use. We extended the head massage during my visits with the stylist, with my stylist, and we used products that had like peppermint and those calming ingredients that would help to soothe my scalp. And once my hair was dry and I'm on my way, my scalp felt better. Launching into the latter part of 2015, I started having more frequent burning of the scalp, which is the hot head sensation. I started having more itchy scalp, and I said, okay, let me go and I visit my PCP, my primary care physician, with the intent to obtain a referral to dermatology. Now, I work at Yale University, and I have the Yale Health Plan as my insurance. And in order for me to see a specialist, which a dermatologist is a specialist, I need to first visit with my PCP, who will then make a referral for me to see the specialist. I will say the feedback that I received at that first visit was questionable because I believe my PCP at the time tried every way to tell me that it was not hair loss issue, that it definitely was attributed to my hairstyles, which again, I was not wearing braids, did not wear wigs, did not wear weaves, was not wearing tight ponytails. And so she essentially tried to convince me that I'm not having hair loss issue, that one, sometimes it's happening as you get older, but let's go ahead and do some blood work. Let's check all your levels and see what happens. And then we go from there. We did the blood work. Most things came back looking well. There's a slight deficiency in vitamin D and iron supplements. And so she recommended that I start taking vitamin D, start taking an iron supplement, and then watch it and see what happens from there. I didn't anticipate it would be this challenging, but that was a lesson learned. Okay, so that was 2015. Now, fast forward to 2016, my symptoms increase. They're more consistent. I am literally in tears because my scalp is so uncomfortable. No amount of Tylenol, Motrin, alternating, nothing helped to soothe the pain. And so I decided that I need to see my PCP a second time. And this time I was on a mission. I was on a mission and I insisted that I was not leaving this appointment without a referral to dermatology because now I know something is wrong. Okay. I was able to receive the referral. I met with my dermatologist, and upon physical examination, she suspected that this was scar and alopecia, but we needed to complete a scalp biopsy to confirm that it was indeed scar and alopecia. Did the biopsy, and the biopsy confirmed CCCA. I will say the most challenging and surprising, most difficult part of getting the biopsy was hearing. And so I don't know if anyone has ever had a scalp biopsy, but you're hearing them cutting your scalp. And so, you get the injection before, you get the numbing cream, that's all prepared and ready. But that part, you hear, when you do a biopsy, you don't think about, well, I'm actually listening to them cutting into my scalp to get a piece so we can test it and confirm. So if you're ever going to do a scalp biopsy, prepare yourself because I was unprepared. Okay. On the right, this is another photo of my scalp, and you can see now they're more thinning in different areas of my scalp, and in the center around the crown, there is some redness and some puffiness. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. So now that I've been diagnosed, now that I know exactly what's going on, I'm still having these physical symptoms. What were the other challenges that I faced? Okay. Advocating for myself. like I mentioned earlier, all my life, I need an appointment, I go to the doctor, they take care of me, I move forward. I think this was the very first time that I've ever had to really push back on a medical professional to get the treatment that I know that I needed, to get the referral that I know that I needed, because I knew that something was wrong. I knew the lifestyle that I led. I knew that this was not because of my hair. And even then, even if it was due to hairstyles, I knew that something was wrong. So that was a huge challenge for me, and one that was unexpected. Dealing with the symptoms, going from having, my hair being fine and my scalp being normal to now I'm walking around with my scalp being on fire. My scalp feels inflamed, and I always kind of describe it as I want to remove my scalp off my head and just rest it on the nightstand and then put it back on when it calms down. The burning sensation was unbearable at times. I mean, there were days when I am in tears because it just burns, it burns so bad. And there was no relief. And CCACA said, it has no boundaries. I call it really disrespectful. It shows up and it's there, and there's no easy way to get out of it. Oftentimes, in back in 2016 through around 2018, I went to work with a spray bottle of ice water that I would take with me, and I would spritz my scalp throughout the day because that was the only thing that gave me relief. I remember being out with my daughters at a restaurant, and we'd take ice cubes and take them in napkins, put them in napkins, and place them on my scalp. Or my older daughter, Gabby, and I don't know if she remembers this, would take the straw, and kids are creative, and she would tap her finger at the top of the straw and fill the straw with ice water and release it on my scalp as we're out dining. And so a big part of that was I was intentional even then to still live my life. I wasn't going to run home and end dinner early with my daughters. So I started figuring out ways to find solution, give myself a little bit of a break, a little bit of a reprieve. And so these were kind of the processes that I followed initially before I got in the treatment plan to help deal with the extensive burning and intense burning sensation that I experienced. Another set of challenges that I faced that was unexpected was, sharing the information with family and friends. So I'm Jamaican, and you know how sometimes we don't always take certain things easily, or we're not the most, we can be loving, but there's some place where we're blunt. And so now I have these bald patches in my head, and I've always been very transparent. And so how do I tell people, oh, I have bald spots in my head, right? What will that look like? And without fear, I receive what I'll call some colorful feedback. And so navigating those colorful feedbacks, which I'll talk about a little bit more, was also a challenge that I didn't quite expect to experience. And so in addition to that, there was the decision to change my hair care routine. So now that I've been diagnosed with scar and alopecia, now that I know that a relaxer can be a cause or can contribute to scar and alopecia, now that I know that heat is also a factor, I immediately make that decision to eliminate relaxers from my hair care routine. And now that I did that, what was next? What will I do with my hair? I'm not wearing braids, right? I'm not wearing wigs. I'm not wearing weaves. So what comes next once I remove the relaxer? And I decided I'll go natural. And so with going natural was the question of, will I transition or will I do a big shot? And so for me at that time, I made a decision to transition for, I think everyone kind of knows what that is. So I decided to gradually cut the relaxed ends off my hair, allowing my natural hair to grow out. And I think I cut the last 4 inches. I just got up one day and I said, I'm done. I took the scissors and I wet my hair and cut off every single strand that was straight. And I was left with, what is it, a TWA, teeny weeny afro. So I had a small afro after I've cut my hair off. And then I had to figure out how to do my hair, how to be creative in hiding the bald spots when I'm going into work every day, when I'm going to different places and navigating that space as well. Another challenge for me at the time was also being mindful of the potential impact on my girls, right? So as women, our hair is a big part of our appearance. And so I was intentional about how I speak of the hair loss. I was intentional about focusing on what is causing the hair loss and less about I am losing my hair, because I have my daughters who are watching me and I didn't want them to feel like their hair was so important that if this should happen to them, they'll be completely devastated. And so I had to navigate that space very tenderly and carefully because I have my two girls who watches every move that I make. So when we talk about the colorful feedback, I call them the voices in my head. These are some of the comments that I heard, and they were repeated, right? So, you're so pretty with your long straight hair. And I'd like to preface this by saying I don't think anyone intended to be intentional, but it goes back to sometimes in our culture, we can be so, we don't always think about being gentle with our words. We just say things as we see. That was an immediate reaction was, oh, you were so pretty with your long straight hair, right? I had to deal with those comments. I had to deal with comments of it's going to take some getting used to, as though this was impacting the person versus impacting me. Or the advice of you should wear wigs or braids. Natural hair does not suit you, right? They could have stopped it. Maybe you should wear wigs or braids. But to say natural hair does not suit someone who is just now learned, is new to this process, who is making all these changes, and now to hear this feedback that wear something different because your natural hair just is not enough. Or the comment of your short hair makes your face look round and not that oval pretty shape. Okay. Those were difficult for a woman who's losing her hair and trying to navigate the space of losing your hair and transitioning from what you know into something different. Those were kind of harsh things to hear. But I didn't focus on that because on the flip side, I also heard positive comments of and reaffirming who I am. If anything will look good on you, right? And if you have to shave your head, then that's what it is. I will say I was very dramatic, and maybe because my bald spots they happened so quickly. And so I thought, oh, I'm losing my hair. I have all these patches. I may have to shave my head at some point, right? And so those were the conversations we're having is I am going bald. I have these bald patches. I'm preparing myself to go to like shave my head. Okay? I've heard great comments is your hair does not define you. You're beautiful just the way you are, right? And other comments, I have to do what's necessary. And I think one of the most important comments and feedback that I received was, well, what's the treatment plan? Now that you're here, what are the things that you're going to do? What advice are you receiving from the doctor? What is the treatment plan to fix what is causing the alopecia? Okay. So I was able to drown out the negative with the positive. So let's talk about my treatment plan. My initial treatment plan included 2.5% minoxidil to promote hair growth. I was immediately placed on topical steroid, which is called clobetasol. I was also placed on doxycycline, which is an antibiotic. It's typically used to treat malaria, but it helps in dealing with scar and alopecia. It helps to reduce inflammation. And later, I added steroid injections to my treatment plan. If you have scar and alopecia, if you have any type of alopecia, if you know someone who does, and they are exploring or you are interested in doing those steroid injections in your scalp, prepare yourself. So I walked in unprepared. I had friends who'd gone through the process and they had positive results. And so I thought, oh, it's like a cortisone shot. I'm going to go in and they'll give me a shot to my scalp and I go home. And that's not what it was. I went in and they are individual injections in each of the follicle trying to reduce the inflammation from within. So I walked out of my first visit and without exaggerating, I must have had at least 115 injections to my scalp because the idea is to get into each individual follicle, into each area. And so they're very close together and to release the steroid to calm the inflammation and allow hair growth. Okay. So if you're ever I didn't know this going in, so I'm sharing this with you in the event you know someone or you yourself may need those scalp steroid injections. So I was placed in a lovely treatment plan and I started off well. And of course, what happened? I had side effects. Okay? The first one was atrophy, which is indentation of the scalp. So the steroid shots, while they help to calm the inflammation, they thin the skin of my scalp. And so now I have bald spots, but I also have these dents in my scalp. Okay? So of course, the dramatic me is like, oh my gosh, now if I need to go bald, no, I have dents in my head, right? So I'm bald, no, I have dents. I also ended up with hirsutism, which is unwanted body hair. So all my life, I've never had to shave my legs, not because I decided to just be a natural girl in that shape. I just did not have body hair to shave my legs. Within 3 weeks of being on the medication, I was covered in hair on my arms, on my legs, and this is a photo of my face. And you can see my hairline, everything just kind of matches together. I have had hair on my under my neck, my upper back, arms, legs, just hair everywhere. I will say that was very difficult, and ultimately having that unwanted body hair, especially on my face, led me to some small scale depression because I couldn't hide it. While I could hide my bald spots, I couldn't hide the facial hair that was a side effect from the medication. I also experienced swellings in my hands, my feet, and my ankles. I had intensive diarrhea and abdominal pain. And for those of us who have had children, I had that feeling of letdown. Like if you're nursing a child and you have that letdown feeling in your breast, I had that experience. And this all happened within 3 weeks. This photo actually was taken 3.5 weeks of being on the medication. Okay. And so once I've had all those experiences, we knew we had to do something different. I sent that very photo to my dermatologist and I said, this is what's happening. We immediately stopped all those medications. And within maybe 3 weeks of stopping the medication, all the hair kind of fell off on its own. Actually, no, before that, I got my face. I went to the nail salon and I had my entire face. I did threading on my face. I had my neck waxed. I had my upper back waxed. I had my chest waxed to remove all the hair. And now this is from a girl who's never had her upper lip waxed, who's never had to do the chin. I've only ever done my eyebrows. And now I had to get my entire face. And my daughter, bless your heart, Gabrielle, she came with me because I was so devastated. And she was practically holding my hand as I'm getting threading in the areas that can be used with thread and waxing the entire area. So I walked in looking worse than that photo, and walked out with my face clear, all the hair's gone, but my edges was still so black from all the new growth. It still looked up, but at least I didn't have the facial hair. I didn't have the hair in my chest and the hair in my shoulders. And so that was difficult to navigate. So once I did that, against the advice of my doctor, she wanted me to wait. I said, I can't wait. I did go back in and did blood work. I had to see an endocrinologist because they thought something else was going wrong. They tested my thyroid to see if there's any issues there, and everything came back clear. And I took matters into my own hands and said, get rid of this because I needed to feel better about myself. And I did that. And so we now fast forward to, okay, now that's settled. Naturally, the rest of the hair on like my legs, my arms, that eventually fell off on its own. And now we revisited treatment. And I went on minocycline, which is a softer, milder version of the doxycycline. It's not so hard on the stomach. So I started minocycline. I continued using the clobetasol, the topical steroid, because I didn't have any side effects from that. I didn't have thinning scalp from the clobetasol. I had thinning scalp from the injections. And so it was those areas, those sites that had those dents. I started hydroxychloroquine, which is a short name for Plaquenil. And Plaquenil actually can impact, studies show that long-term use of Plaquenil can impact your vision. And so I went through the phase of, well, I'd rather be bald than blind, right? If you're going to give me a medicine, it's going to now create an issue with my vision. I will just take my chances. But I was assured that the percentage and the likelihood is so small that it was fine. And so I started taking Plaquenil. But with that came annual vision exam. There's a very specific exam that's done to measure certain areas of my eye and to ensure that it's not changing over time. So I have annual eye exams. There were a 3-year time frame where I had to do my eye exam every 6 months to ensure that my eyes weren't changing. I also use a topical ointment for my baseline, and occasionally I'll still get the steroid injections to my scalp. When I'm having a really bad flare-up, when it's going on for prolonged periods of time and we're not able to calm it down with the other medications, then I typically will go in and get those steroid injections to my scalp. Okay. So what is the current status? So for the most part, it's under control, right? Fingers crossed and knock on wood. For the most part, it's under control. Right now, I am experiencing, like in this moment, I am experiencing a bit of a flare-up that started about 2 weeks ago. And we do know that stress causes inflammation, and my job has been extremely stressful lately. I mentioned earlier that I am in research administration, and if you're following the news or paying attention, there's a lot happening with research, and so that impacts my day-to-day work. And so I believe that the heightened inflammation and the flare-up is attributed to that. So I'm doing my best to calm that down and be mindful of how I show up every day and reducing my stress. I continue to navigate this journey with transparency. I share this information with people. I'm here talking about it now and sharing pictures of my scalp with all of you, right? And so there was a time where if I'm at the crosswalk and there's a wind blowing, I will grab my hair and cover my spot so no one behind me will see the bald spot. Now I don't do that. The wind blows and you see my bald spot, you see my bald spot. So I have settled in with the fact that I do have scar and alopecia. I have accepted that I have scar and alopecia, but I've also living in the constant reminder that I am not my hair. And so I have bald spots. I may have more bald spots, but I am not my hair. And so this is where I am now. This is where I am today in being a better place with managing my scar and alopecia, but not allowing my scar and alopecia to kind of control me. So further talking about me, I am not my hair. These are two more pictures of my scalp. And on the photo on the right, you'll see there's a little almost like purple images, and that's from after having a session with the steroids shots, right? And so I'm not my hair. So there are days when my hair looks like this. There are days if you part my hair right now, my hair looks something similar to this. But I also know that my hair can look like this today, doesn't prevent me from looking like this tomorrow, okay? So here today, gone tomorrow. Thank you all for being a part of this journey and for joining me in this session. And now we leave it open for any questions that you have.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. How are
Hi,
you
Madam
doing?
Presenter Kenechia. Your story is so, so, so interesting.
Thank you.
And it really moved me to really talk about my bald spot in my head. Yep,
Wow.
I've never really discussed it, but it's about, say, 15 years ago or so. One morning I got up and my stepson said to me, "Mommy, but you get bald." I said, "What?" And he said, "Yes, there's a bald spot in your head." And I said, "Maybe it's age. My sister has a bald spot, so maybe it runs in the family." Anyway, I didn't really pay it much mind. But then when I came to visit my daughter, Kenechia, we call her Latoya, she saw the bald spot and she said, "Mommy, your hair is falling out." And I said, That's what I realized. Anyhow, she took me to the hairdresser and she got some tracks sewed in my hair because she said it was that bad to cover it. But I never pay attention to it because I normally have very long hair. So the length of the ear from the front would compensate for the middle because the bald spot is in the middle, and it would comb right back. Or if I comb it to the side, it would be covered. So I didn't pay much attention until last year when I had to work out in Montego Bay and I wasn't driving myself. I was taking the taxi. So I was very conscious of that, or even walking on the street because we normally drive our own vehicle. I would be very conscious and keep using my hand, to brush down my hair back ways to cover the middle. And I was very conscious that probably it might be showing, and I wasn't feeling very comfortable with that. So while taking taxis, I would not lean back in the car or in the bus so that my hair would, be separated from the middle. It has not really jerked me per se because I went to the doctor and the doctor said she hasn't found anything wrong. My pressure is not high, my sugar level is okay, and all the blood works was good. She just attributed to menopause. So I just took it for that, so I'm not worried about it. But your story really got my eyes teary a bit to know that a young lady, a young girl could be going through that. Not that I'm saying that I am old and I can go through it, but to see that or to know that you are that young and you haven't lived as many years as I have lived, and to be going through that, which sounds so nerve-wracking. I'm telling you, my eyes are teary and my heart goes out for you.
Thank you.
I am now wearing wig because prior to relocating here, I asked my hairdresser to cut my hair to match the middle per se, where it was falling out. So based on that, I started wearing a wig because I'm afraid that the bald spot would be showing. So that's why I'm wearing a wig now. But it's not too bad because Lexi is my hairdresser here. And she said, Grandma, your hair is growing back. It's not that thin and it's not that bald. So I am watching it to see if I'll get back here in that spot to the length that I normally have. But suffice to say that, as you have mentioned, that relaxing your hair and the blow drying could be a cause. I would say that I think that could be because I relax my hair almost every 6 weeks growing up from age 18, right? So I think that could be attributed to it. But then because the doctor says it could be menopause, I just hold it at that. And I'm not traumatized. I'm living with it. And, life goes on. So thumbs up to you for sharing. Really inspiring and intriguing. And the wealth of information that you have provided really will send us to research this topic some more. Thank you very much for your information.
Thank you. You made me tear up, Miss Paulette. Thank you so much. Thank you. And that's the goal, right? That's the hope, is that this allows more of us to talk about it, because so many times I have conversations, someone said, oh, I like your hair. You have such beautiful hair. And we start talking about just hair. And I say, oh, I have scarlet alopecia. Like, oh, I can't tell, right? I am very careful in how I do my twist out, right? And so you won't know now that I have bald spots, but my goal and my hope, and especially with sharing my own pictures of my spots, is that we talk about it a little bit more, that we become more comfortable in talking about it, because so many of us are either experiencing some type of hair loss or know someone who's experiencing hair loss. So thank you, Miss Paulette, for sharing your story as well.
Well, Kenechia, it was very brave of you to be so open. Because I'm going to say something that a lot of people don't know. I actually have lupus and scarring alopecia. I've done the injections, I've done the hydrochloroquine. What I usually say to folks is that you have to advocate for yourself when you go to the doctor. Because like you, when I found out, it started with a bald spot in the center of my head. And a lot of the doctors did not know what it was. So I had to visit a few doctors before they found out that I had lupus. And lupus now is, they still do not know the reason where it comes from. Nobody in my family has it. I'm not as brave as you. I couldn't take the injections because my hair loss is a lot. It comes right to the front of my head. And the injections that were taken were at the base of like the front of my head. So I wear wigs a lot. The medication, especially the hydrochloroquine, it has so many side effects that I decided that I'm not going to be taking that for the rest, because I asked the doctor, do I have to take this for the rest of my life? And they practically said yes. So I decided that it's not, I won't do it. So I have a lot of hair loss. I have the lupus that does affect, and stress is one of the things that actually affects lupus and the alopecia. The breakouts come when either, in the sun, too much sun for me, or too much stress. But I give you props because, as especially a Black woman, our hair is a big, like, it's a big part of us. So I have sat many days deciding, thinking, what do I do with my hair? Should I chop it off? Because there's hardly any. Mine is so damaged that I cannot get away with what you're getting, like how you got away with yours, because mine is at the center and the front. So, but it can be stressful. You can go through your ups and downs because you don't know what to do with your hair from day to day. You don't know if you should cut it off. What is I told my hairdresser I'm gonna cut mine off because I'm tired of the wigs, I'm tired of everything. And he said, are you willing to deal with the questions? Because mine is so deep and skin, you can see like the plain skin. So I would have to answer questions. And I know people ask me like, what's wrong with your hair or your head because of my scarring, because my scarring is so bad. So I've decided that I'll wig it until I can no longer. I don't know if I have the courage yet to go totally bald. But your presentation today, and when you approached and said you're going to do that, I was like, wow, that's pretty that's pretty brave of you to just talk about it, because I'm sure many other women are dealing with alopecia. I don't know how much others are dealing with the lupus as I am, but I don't talk about it much. I just live with it, and it like, for me, it is what it is until I see a butterfly rash. When I see a butterfly rash, I know that I'm in it, and I just have to take it slow. I have to slow down, take some breaks. But I do praise you for going through what you did, taking note of everything that you have, and advocating for yourselves, because we do have to advocate, whether you have lupus. A lot of the doctors, when I found out, did not even know what lupus was. And this was probably 20 years ago. I had to go to probably about 4 doctors for them to just find out that it was lupus. So I give you all the praise for bringing this to our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, Karen. Karen, I hope you get to a space where you worry less about the comments and just be free and free yourself, right? As I was putting the presentation together and I called my younger daughter, I told my girls, so this is what I'm doing. And first of all, I was like, oh my gosh, it's that time already. I said I'm going to do this months ago, and here I am. I need to put a presentation together because I needed slides to guide the discussion. But I spoke with my younger daughter, Kylie, and I showed her the pictures, and I said, Kai, what do you think? Should I put my pictures in? Then I also spoke to my sister who is on right now, and I said, should I put photos of my scalp, especially when I posted the flyer on Facebook and someone said, make it public. And I was like, ooh, okay, let's make it public. But it was important for me to share, to do exactly what we're doing now, is to have the conversation and to be more comfortable with speaking. Yes, yes, I have hair loss. Yes, I have bald patches in my head. Yes, and life goes on, right? And yes, I'm dealing with it. And yes, it's some days it's more difficult than others. And I know your situation is extreme because you have lupus, but I'm happy that we're able to gather in this space and be able to share. And my hope is more of us will be able to share and be more open. So because it's like a closeted thing among Black women, right? We don't want anyone to know, so we change our hair. I mean, I went to work with my teeny weeny afro, and I've had to heard comments from my white colleagues that, well, I don't like your hair like that, right? When my hair was really short, I did shiny bumps. What are they called in the US? We call them shiny bumps, bantu knots, right? I would do bantu knots and pull it out and like pick it out. And so I launched immediately into making a drastic change from having relaxed hair to this. And I had to deal with the comments, and I had to deal with the comments from people who look like me and people who didn't look like me, and work through that. I heard the comment that my hair looked like the Brillo pad, right? It's I heard that in the workspace. So I've gone through all the pieces, but not allowing any of that to let me hide. And so I'm hoping that, more of us will have this dialogue and we'll share our story, and my girls are very familiar. They'll know when I'm having a flare up. They'll come and they'll massage my scalp. They check my scalp for new patches. I'm like, I think something's happening here. Can you check? And so make it be a little bit more open, so it's not so taboo among us, especially. So, but thank you so much for sharing as well, Karen.
Thank you so very much for bearing your soul and being so raw with us. My sister, I'm not sure if Lorraine has been trying to speak. She's off of mute. She's on the line as well. And my family suffers with hypothyroidism, which thins the hair as well. And Lorraine, are you going to? My sister, even though she has long hair, she says if you put a hot comb to it, she will look bald. And my mother's hair is also very, very thin. So I thank you for starting the conversation. It is a conversation that my sister and I have quite often amongst the family, because my aunt suffers from it as well. My cousin does. So hypothyroidism leads to very thinning hair. So we experience it in our family. And I used to have a thick head of hair, and I can see mine is thinning as well. Lorraine? Okay, maybe she doesn't realize that she's not off mute, but again, we thank you for coming on tonight and sharing and starting the conversation, which will lead to additional conversations.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm over here doing 900 things at the same time, but I'm compelled to come in. Like she said, thank you for having this conversation. I don't know if I have any of those issues, but it doesn't matter because it takes a village, and we would have different things. And I'm just thinking, I don't know if we could start. I'm always thinking to start stuff. Start. I'll figure out something to just bring awareness, because this is very important for us to bring awareness. And like you said, everybody's not going to have the courage, but it only takes one to get it started and to get a movement going. And then eventually things will get traction. And then the ones that are not so brave will be empowered and say, yes, me too. I don't mean that me too movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everybody, the next one will say, yeah, me too. And the next one will say, yeah, me three. And the next one will say, yeah, me four, and so on and so forth. And this is extremely empowering. And I'm just coming from a seminar where the theme is the same. It takes a village, and we need to lean on our community and stop believing, because I'm guilty of that too, that we can do everything and all things by ourselves. The days for that are over. Because you know why? We don't have to. All we got to do is say the word, and somebody's there to support us. Somebody's there to wipe your tears. Somebody's there to give you a hug. Somebody's there to pat you on the shoulder and let you know it'll be okay. You're not alone. And
Absolutely.
Right now I'm speaking to myself, because I'm one such. I carry a whole lot. Nobody knows, because I wear it well.
Yeah.
And we get embarrassed in our situation, and that's the key thing. We get embarrassed about it, and that's okay too. And it's okay for us to say so, because we can impact so many people's lives just by speaking up. This was very great tonight. I mean, like, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Any other questions, comments?
I want to make a comment. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Hi,
Hi,
Patty.
Hi, my name is Patty. I was also diagnosed with, well, not the same one, but alopecia areata. And I lost my hair, I think it was 2020. I had a big patch in the front like this. Just one morning I woke up and the hair was on my pillow, all of it. But before that, maybe a couple of months before that, I went through 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks of being day in and day out in the hospital, watching my best friend in a coma. She was life or death situation. We didn't know she was going to make it. And I think, and on top of that, as a mom, I was always very stressed and overworked and all of that. And I think when I went through the coma situation with my best friend, it woke up something dormant in me. And I think in a lot of people, some inner stresses, maybe traumas from when you're a child, they all kind of woke up at the same time. And just the trauma of the coma and being there and seeing the convulsions my friend went through. And in addition to that, the stress of being mom and all of that, those things. I think that it attributed to me losing my hair and things happening to my body. It wasn't only just my hair. I was experiencing not being able to swallow or breathe and a lot of anxiety. But ever since, it was so scary to lose your hair, because it is part of being a woman. And I often think, if it comes back, how will I be able to handle it? What if it doesn't go away? What if it just, I lose all of the hair? So thank you for sharing, your information. And it's true. We have to embrace it. We have to get to that point. But also, I just want to mention that I learned to try to balance my life and learn to say no. Who was it that was talking earlier? Venetia?
Yes.
It's so important that we say no. We can't go, we can't be there. I'm not doing it. Because we are so open to saying yes to everything, and then everything fall on us. And then we go through all of those things and our bodies suffer. So finding balance may not get rid of all the sickness, but I think stress creates sickness. And I'm learning to kind of bring myself back down every time I feel that anxiousness coming. I practice different things to bring myself back to a kind of like level, so that I don't wake up the next morning with another pillow full of hair or anything like that. So, but thank you so much. And I did do the injections. I had a bunch of them in one session. And thankfully, they worked. The one session, I never had to go back. But thank you for, there's a lot of information you shared that I did not know. I never researched. So if ever happens again, I'll keep that in mind. Definitely. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Patty. Thanks for sharing.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say wonderful presentation, Kenechia, and thank you so much for being so open and sharing with us something so personal. Those pictures, I'm thinking about cutting off all my hair, not because I have alopecia, but because of my terrible headaches. And when I comb my hair, it tugs on it. And I was worried about what people would say. But then after, listening to you tonight and some of our other members, I'm thinking, what do I care about what people have to say? If it makes me feel better, then that's what this is all about. So thank you so much for sharing, and I wish you all the best as you continue in this journey.
Thank you so much, Kayon. And yes, who cares what people say? Do what works for you. Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts?
Okay, if there's no other questions or thoughts, first I'd like to say thank you to our volunteers this week who went to Community First School. It was wonderful. We had Kenechia and Ven, and then today we had Patty, Peaches, and
Lorena.
Lorena, Patty, Peaches, and myself. And Lorena and Patty did Spanish with the pre-Ks. Oh my gosh. So thank you guys for your time today. The school loves us. It gives them a chance to get other work done or to pull some students out of the classroom. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. For our next conversation is next month. However, we also have coming up, we're giving back to in November 14th, I think that's the date, for our give back to my brain is going, my sister's place. So we do this every year where we do a give back to my sister's place. My sister's place is a home for women who are homeless or who are going through domestic violence and they need somewhere to stay temporarily. So we do prepare a full meal for them and donate personal items. So if anyone here would like to be a part of that, please reach out. You can put your name in the chat if you want to donate to that cause. That will be in November. And in December is our December 13th is our gala. Yay! Tickets are coming. It's on our website, but more information is coming out as soon as possible, December 13th. Please start looking around for your dresses. It's going to be a dressed up event. Start putting away your funds for your tickets. Start getting your group of ladies or friends, bring the men to come get your table of 10. It will be table of 10. So we're looking forward to another year of just wonderful camaraderie, wonderful gathering, and saying thank you to those who have helped us this year. And with that, we are going to ask Mother Paulette to lead us in prayer as we end the evening.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Let us pray. God, you are a good God. You never give us more than we can bear. We thank you, God, for this very knowledgeable presentation on alopecia done by our dear sister, our beautiful Kenechia Daley. Lord, she was very strong and brave in her delivery. We thank you, God, for the edification that we have come to have. Because, God, even though I am going through it, I did not know as much as I have gathered here tonight. So, Father, as we, your children, your daughters, go through our struggles individually and collectively, we pray, oh God, that you will continue to empower us and strengthen us. Lord, help us to accept ourselves at where we are. We are all wonderfully and beautifully made by you, and we are grateful. Father God, bless each and every sister in this conversation tonight. And for those who were not able to join, we ask that you bless them as well. And we thank you, Lord, for what you are doing in our lives and what you will continue to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And thank you. Thank you again for your time, ladies. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again, Kenechia. And thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
We hope
Thank
that
you.
you'll join us next month, and you'll join us if you want to volunteer for My Sister's Place. Reach out to someone that you know. If you want a table at our gala, reach out to someone that you know, and we'll get that moving. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Everyone. Thank you.
Good night.